Hello again, and welcome back to Terraria. If you were watching my last episode, well, this is pretty much where it ended. I alt-tabbed, so it pretty much saved. Well, it literally did save. Before watching, yes, I went out and got my cat. And then I decided to make myself a little bit of breakfast. It's actually just cooling at the moment, so I might be eating a little bit during this episode. But yes, as we were talking, I don't actually remember what we were talking about. Pause all that stuff. I actually probably should just go back and watch like the talking about again. YOLO. Incontinuity. Canonical Akasa. Wait, canonical Akasa? Isn't that like canonicality, like my no, that's canonically my house. I have no clue what the hell I just said. I should go into politics. Seems like it's like you have no clue what you're saying, go into politics. You'll be anyway, if I remember right, last time I went through here, I found a continuity. I linked two caves together and found a way out. But now it's time to go down. By down, I mean go up and pick up some more ammo. Got enough ammo. Never have enough ammo. Two slimes. Okay, so let's see. Something else we can talk about. Trying to avoid talking about anything that would be normally considered touchy. Actually a little bit weird. I don't know, maybe it's the sociopath does not mean anything with violent tendencies. Misnomer. Sociopath just means that you have a pathological problem with social interactions. Doesn't mean anything with violence, it normally just means you talk loud. Like, for most people, being a sociopath means you talk loud when you should probably be quiet, and you should probably be being silent and stuff. That. Bloodroot. I have no clue what that is, but it looked cool. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of one of those things. A lot of people is like, yeah, you shouldn't talk about religion and politics. And I'm like, why not? Those are two fun subjects to go into. You get to talk about what people believe in. You get to understand the person you're talking to. Sometimes it can help you educate yourself. Because, well, let's just look at it. A lot of the current world, problems with the current world, are because of idiots who don't know what the... a lot of... Well, let's look at it this way. If you look at a lot of, like, atheism, like, I'm not quoting any religion or anything here, just a lot of atheists, their primary problem with, like, religious people is that religious people are... Well, not all religious people are stupid. All are stupid. Some of the smartest people in the world are religious. And then you have, like, there's a lot of just misnomer. Like, well, you have those people who, I'm trying to think of, well, you have, like, I think it's called the 7-Day Movement. Day movement or whatever. Like the world was created in 7 days, which means actual 24-hour days. Except like, religiously, it never says that in any text. In fact, certain versions of the Quran and the Torah also technically means certain versions of the Bible, basically say that it wasn't 7 days, but it was seven eras. Could be anything from day to millennium. Actually got into an interesting talk about it with a friend about that. I'm like, yeah, technically, depending on how you read the Bible, one of the reasons you could assume that so many bad things are happening isn't because God doesn't exist, because he's still on vacation from that he's still on his day off. I mean, you assume that he's all-powerful, time has no limitation to him, so for him, 6-7 days could be, for what us, is lifetimes, millenniums, even. Like, I think I even went through, like, we were talking about it, and, like, we went through and did, like, some of the math, and, like, if we look at the scientific start of the universe and all that, basically, like, God's day off is, like, for the next, like, he still has the next, like, 14,000 years or something, or 140,000 years or something like that off. And that's the reason why people say he doesn't answer prayers and stuff. It's still his day off. Give the man a break. He created all of everything. He deserves a day off, right? Yeah, and then we were also kind of joking around, which probably ain't the. But like, yeah, and that means like all the stuff where he came by and did some like housekeeping for Noah and all them. That was basically like whenever you're nervous because no one does their job right when you're day off. So he was calling back in, or calling his boss to be like, "Hey, you sure I don't need to come in? Dang it, why can't I grab a hold of that rope?" But yeah, and I mean like, but a lot of people, there's that whole like, the world has only been around for 6,000 years, blah blah blah. There's no religious reason to believe. There are time counts, like, yeah, there are time counts in a lot of the religious scripts, but those time counts aren't in any way thought to be accurate. I mean, there are a couple of reasons, like, people lived for a much longer time back then because of something like the oxygen in the air. Like, there are reasons, like, the water above like, there was more water in the atmosphere, which blocked out more UV, stopped people from deteriorating as fast. Today, the main reason people die of old age and stuff isn't because you're improperly nutritioned or anything like that. It's because body just isn't repairing itself as well as it needs to keep going. And one of the main reasons one of the main factors that leads to that is radiation. Like mostly UV, but there are a few other forms of radiation that we have in our general lives that we've just gotten used to. And they don't seem to bother us, but those are really actually what kills us. Kind of like unhealthy foods. Stuff like candies and stuff actually aren't unhealthy. Like, whenever somebody says unhealthy food, most people think they mean it's bad for your health, when really unhealthy just means it's not good for you. It doesn't have any implication of being bad. But that's another story for another time, or another subject for another time. Sure. Yeah, we're good. Sorry, I keep double checking because I want to be able to get back here and I don't want to get stuck. Yes. Yeah, as I was saying, so it's just kind of one of those things like, yeah, like I can understand where both sides are coming from that argument. Someone who says that the Earth's only X amount of time long or old, when we have proof that it's 100 times older than that, well, there's some problems there. And that's going to cause fights. That's like someone saying that. I'm trying to think of a good excuse or a good argument that wouldn't be like anything touchy. But I guess it's kind of like the birth certificate argument for Obama. It's like, well, he's not from here. Well, he has a birth certificate. And does it really matter? Like, legally there are many reasons for it to matter, but honestly, at the moment, as things have gone, I'd much prefer we don't find out. Because there are so many bad things that could happen if we find out he's actually, like, he wasn't. Like, yeah, he gets arrested, and he goes country without being able to control the country. But at the same time, every law that's been passed while he was in, even ones he had nothing to do with, get overturned. This includes some of the provisions to the Amber laws. Don't know if you're not American. I don't know what the like European equivalency to an Amber law is. Basically, there was some little girl named Amber who I think she ended up like getting kidnapped and killed. And like basically, there were some laws made that hey, little kids who end up being taken have special, like they get a special place. It's not, oh, by the way, this person's missing. Like, there's actually a special thing called the Amber Alert, where, hey, there's a little kid missing. Keep a special eye open, because kids are important. But yeah, and it's just kind of one of those things where, there are certain reasons to be like, hey, no, you aren't the president because you don't have this, or don't deserve this right. I'm all for those, but at the same time, there are also certain reasons to be like, yeah, maybe we should. Size is small, knockback slow, but it's actually more powerful. It should be a lot more powerful than it is. But anyway, pause it all, pull back out my chest, pull that. Alright, But yeah, anyway, like, back to what I was talking about, because if you haven't noticed, I kind of have a problem getting... Is that an advance? There we go, sawmill. I get sidetracked a lot. It's nothing bad, I guess, like... Sidetracked isn't a bad thing, it's just kind of one of those... Sometimes it takes a little bit to go full circle. I'm actually going to do a little bit of housework while I'm here. But yeah, like I was talking, like... Yeah, so, basically it's kind of one of those, like, well... Hey, we have, like, there's proof of X happening, so why do you not believe it? Like, are you so skeptical that you can't see something that there's evidence for? But at the same time, I can also understand the Christian side of it, because, hey, this is what our text document says. I mean, whenever you read something scientific in a scientific journal, you're like, hey, this is in the scientific journal, it might be true. And faith basically requires that, hey, things might not be easy to believe, but they have a meaning. Even if it's not the direct one we're thinking, there's a meaning. The prodigal child. Kid goes off, wastes all, or kid basically screws his parent out of money. Today it'd be kind of like an equivalent. That would be a child who living with their parents at the age of like 20, 25, basically is using their parents' credit cards all the time, screws over their parents' credit score, but their parent still loves them. Why? Because they're their child, they love them. That'd be like a common day equivalent to the prodigal child would be some punk kid using his mom's credit card. Now, that story basically tells us that we should love our parents. Like, do we that some kid went off and dad's fortune, or half of his dad's fortune, and then came back? And at the same time, his brother must be pissed, because, like, he basically re-inherited half, so his brother's only getting, like, a quarter of the fortune. The other one, the bad one, ended up getting 3/4 of it. But at the same time, they're family, so they love each other, so it's kind of one of those things. Where you hate him, you hate his guts, but at the same time, you got his back if something happens. apparently you can't plant acorns on curved inclines or declines. I guess technically it could be it's an incline either way because it inclines you down or it inclines you up. Anyway, good. I say anyway a lot today, aren't I? Sorry, I think it's just the fact that I'm a little bit hungry. I'm kind of a little more sidetracked than I normally am. But yeah, so... But the religious text, I can understand believing. It's your religion. It's what you believe. I mean, of course you're gonna believe what you believe. Whereas with scientific minds, I can understand and be like, hey, you're believing science because that's what you believe. I mean, basically, if you want to like get into the big argument, kind of one of those big like Einstein religion arguments. Well, Einstein's religion of was science. Like, a lot of people go into the fact that, okay, he's anti-religion. Well, actually, if you read any of his work, he's not anti-religion, he just didn't personally believe in religion, because he believed that, if you follow science, you should follow science, doesn't matter what your personal beliefs are. But, at the same time, he was one of the big people who was like, hey, just because you're religious doesn't mean you can't do science, it just means you have a preset order of beliefs. But at the same time, if you look at preset order of beliefs, it wasn't that long ago that people still thought that the Earth was flat. But this one kind of gets me a lot of hate, but most people can't deny it because, well, it's... But if you actually look at it, why do we not think that the world is flat anymore? Because of a group of Christians that said, hey, the world's not flat. Now, at the same time, pretty much everybody at the time was Christian, but that doesn't really discredit what I'm saying. Just, hey, plain and simple, religious people who said that the world wasn't flat when they were going through. They were the scientists who discovered it. So, people, like, a lot of people today are saying that, well, you can't be religious and scientific at the same time, but we've never had that problem with that in the past. But it's pretty much the only people who we have problems with that are the uneducated people who don't understand what things mean, or are taking things that should be taken as parables literally. Also, I kind of got into a conversation with the same friend I was talking about. With religion, like, it goes through, and, like, I was kind of, like, skimming through a little bit. Like, well, I was skimming through my Bible, because I have a theological studies class that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Like, actually, it comes up this month, but, yeah, it's basically in a couple of weeks still. And basically part of the class was, hey, try to find, like, go through, read it. I got through a couple of the chapters of Genesis. Just kind of the normal stuff, the quick, easy, it took me less than, like, 6 hours to read stuff. Hell, I was bored. I had nothing better to do. So, I was reading, and, like, I was reading through my version, like, the version of the Bible I had a continuing, like, it had an error in it. It didn't really have an error, but it just had a difference in it from what I remember. Like, when I was younger and learning the Bible and stuff, like, I used the teenage version. Like, it's called something like Teenage something. Basically, it's the same Bible everybody else reads. It's written in the common vernacular of language instead of what it would have been back then. So, okay, no problem. Basically, it's just a version difference. No problem. It'd be like Romeo and Juliet if you take out the thous and the these. Actually, I think that's basically what the difference is. Common language instead of thous and these and but anyway, so I was going through and reading it. Well, my homework version said each and every, like we're going to the, when God created animals and when Noah put things on the ark. And it's like, yeah. So, he put one of every animal on the ark. Well, that's not the version I remember. When I was reading it, it was one of every kind. Again, that's not much of a difference for most people, but I was talking to my friend about that, right? And I'm like, hey, can you do me a favor? Pull out your book, pull out your family Bible, because pretty much everybody has a family Bible. Like, no offense, even if you're atheist, you probably have a family Bible somewhere. Like, almost everybody has one. It's just how things are. So, I asked him to pull it out. I'm like, hey, do me a favor. Look it up in Genesis. What does it say? God created an animal of every kind, or every kind of animal? Well, he looked it up, and in his old version, basically the same as my old version, it said of every kind, not every animal. So, continuing on, we did that. Dang it, I went up there for a hammer. I had to pick up that. But yeah, so we went through that. We talked for a little bit about that. And so we also got on, and we got on the internet, because there are actually many places on the internet where you can find it. There's one place, I think it's just called Bible.com or something similar to that, where you can actually just go through it, and they'll show you like almost every version of the Bible you can think of. You want the Jewish text, like the original Jewish text? They have it. You want Yiddish? They have it. Wait, can I just mine that with my axe, or do I actually need a hammer now? I'm thinking about that. I'm like, I might not need a hammer. Let's go find out. But yeah, so went through and did that. Well, I'm sitting there looking at it, because if you think about it, what are the differences? Like, it doesn't sound like a very big difference when you just say it. But one of every kind and every kind of animal, or two of every kind and two of every kind compared to two of every animal are actually very huge differences in translation. Two of every kind would, I'm trying to think of how to say that in a common vernacular, would basically be something like, well, we had one wolf. Whereas two of every animal would be like, well, we had a timber wolf, we had an Arctic wolf, we had a comic wolf, we had a beluga wolf, we had a giant red with a big blue tail wolf. Like, every animal is every animal. But at the same time, every kind, well, a wolf is a wolf is a wolf. So, depending on how you read that, depending on which translation you use, your Bible could quite literally agree with evolution. Why? Because it literally says there was only one of every kind of animal, not one of every type. So there was only one wolf, and then that one wolf would later become the hundreds of variation of wolf. And just stuff like that. Anyway, I kind of got up on the we're not going to talk about religion, and then I go and talk for like half an hour about religion. But basically what I was getting at is there are a lot of things, like, you can learn a lot about a person just by talking about stuff like that, because whether they believe it or not, whether it's their personal belief or not, it has nothing to do with it. It's, well, how do you find this? How do you take this? If I said blank, do you agree or disagree? If you disagree with me, are you going to be an asshole about it? Are you going to be like, hey, that's an idea. I disagree with it, but that's an idea. And I think that's one of the big problems with today's world, is we've been taught that if someone's opinion is different than ours, that their opinion's wrong. Or if we're wrong, it means we're stupid. Like, that's the way things have been taught, is, hey, if your opinion is wrong, then you lack intelligence. You're stupid. No one says you're stupid just because you're wrong. You don't go up to a little kid and be like, hey, you don't know math, so you're an idiot. Like, no, you're uneducated. You haven't learned it yet. And if you go up to a little kid and say you're stupid because you don't understand basic math that they haven't been taught yet, then you probably need to be neutered and or executed or something. So you shouldn't be yelling at little kids. It's bad. It's an asshole move. But anyway, and basically that same concept. It's like, yeah, we've been taught that things that are different, things that are wrong, are evil, basically. Like, hey, this guy's opinion is different than yours. That means he's against you. It's like, no, you can have different ideas and not be the enemy. I mean, I can kind of understand where that line of thinking comes from. A lot of it actually does come from stuff like the Cold War, where, well, communism's scary. Like, America had social Russia had the communism. Well, what all is communism? Communism is a social economic system. Problem with that compared to capitalism is it's not, like, a lot of people don't get this part, but it's not a form of government. Capitalism and communism are not government. They are something interesting. They're actually just forms of economy. It's how you deal with your money. So it's just kind of one of those things where over the years we've learned things that are wrong. I'm not meaning to step on any toes here, but yeah, we've learned things that are wrong. And we've been taught that if we're wrong, there's something wrong with us. But well, hell, let's look at the last couple hundred years. The world isn't flat. We're not calling the people who thought the world was flat stupid, are we? Well, most people do. But no, that was the common concept. That's what they were taught in school. It's not their fault they didn't know any better. I mean, that's literally like going up to a little kid and being like, hey, you haven't been taught math in school yet, so you're stupid. And it's just kind of something that people don't seem to really get in their heads. Another example, kind of on the same subject, is order of operations. This one's actually kind of a little bit of a personal, like, I don't want to say personal vendetta, but something I kind of like to point to whenever I'm looking at, like, the reason why certain things are bad. And this kind of fits into that category. Well, if you look at it, a lot of people fail at the order of operations, right? There are reasons for that. A lot of people aren't taught it properly. I did a little bit of tutoring when I was in high school, and basically my whole concept was if you teach someone how to do something right, they'll know how to do it. Teach someone how to do something wrong, it'll hinder them for everything else they try to do. I actually, like, even in college, when my first couple of weeks in college, or my first couple of classes in college, we had some of that, like, well, let's go back over math. And, like, everybody was like, well, math is hard. Like, you either have those people who, math is hard, I hate math. Or you have those people who, oh, math, no problem. What do you want me to do? Calculate, multiply, addition, calculus, long division, no problem. But, and that's kind of a big difference. Like, oh my god, math is the hardest subject in the world, or, oh, math? No problem, what do you need? So, I'm sitting there and, like, talking to some of my classmates, and a lot of what I'm getting, like, a lot of what I was getting out of them was, they're not being taught. Like, they're, like, math is like a ladder. Like, I know this is a bad example, but math is like a ladder. If you miss one of the lower rungs, you're going to be stumbling the whole rest of the way up. And, well, it gets to the point where it's going to be impossible to learn. Because if you don't understand multiplication properly, or you don't understand fractions, or if you don't understand division, then it's physically impossible for you to learn anything that's derived from that. Like, if you don't understand division, you can't learn... Oh, that's nice. Let's swap that out. I'm taking this compared to the other boomerang because it also creates light. Whereas the other one didn't. Anyway, back to what I was saying. But if you don't learn math properly, like if you don't learn division, you can't learn fractions. Like, some smart people would probably argue with me and be like, no, you can still do it. Be like, no, you physically can't. All a fraction is division, in short. And if you think about it, what's 1/2? Or, actually, let's go into something a little more simple. 2/4. It's 1/2, right? Well, divide by 4. 2 divided by 4 is 2. So, or it's like 4 divided by 2 is 2. Well, if 4 halves is 2. What is 2 divided by 4? Well, that's half. Well, what is 2/4? That's half. It is literally division. The only difference is how we perceive it. Whenever you think about fractions, there's that huge disclaimer that fractions are scary. But if you understand division, you understand fractions. They're the same thing. It's not harder, it's not easier, it's literally the same thing. And a lot of math is like that. I mean, multiplication is literally addition. Like, division's actually probably the hardest thing about math. Because like you have, well, multiplication is literally addition, but with bigger sets. Well, what is division? Well, division, like multiplication in reverse. Trying to think of some simple example, like a simple example that doesn't make me have to think for a minute. But like, well, addition. What's 2 plus 2? 2 plus 2 is 4. What's 4 plus 8? 4 plus 8 is 12. Well, let's go into multiplication. What's 2 times 2? Well, that's 4. That's simple. Well, what's 4 times 8? That's 32. Well, how can I compare that with addition? It's pretty simple. With multiplication, well, I'm taking 4 groups of 8 and adding them together. So 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. And that's simple. Like, pretty much anybody who can multiply knows that. Like, it's straightforward, it's simple. Well, but at the same time, people who have trouble don't seem to get the fact that they're the same thing. That's the big thing, is people who are having trouble with math don't understand that they're the same thing. They're not taught it. Actually, I have a small story, but I'm going to keep going for a second with my example so that I don't get sidetracked again. But another one would be something like, with division. Well, what is division? Well, 2 divided by 4 is, well, how many times can I get 2 into 4? Whereas 4 divided by 2 is, well, how many times can I get 4 to fit into 2? Well, I can get half of 4 into 2. Well, 2 to 4, how many times can I get 2 into 4? You can get 2 into 4 2 times. And it makes sense whenever somebody says it like that. Like, if you're trying to teach it, that's how you teach it. But a lot of people don't understand it because it's not taught to them properly. Trying to think of another example. Actually, I got a lot of rope. But, another example would be like the order of operations, right? That's kind of actually what I started on, wasn't it? Huh. But with the order of operations, a lot of people don't understand those because not taught them properly, as I was saying. Well, here's actually a pretty good example of that. When I was going to school, I swapped between 2nd and 3rd grade. I changed schools. No big deal there. That's not uncommon. Stop killing me, you slimes. I'm talking. Well, in my 2nd grade, in the school I went to in 2nd grade, they were teaching us basic multiplication, basic division. It was a 3rd grade skill, but I was in an advanced class. So, yeah. Hey, I'm learning I'm learning some basic stuff that I'm not supposed to learn until next year. No big deal. Well, went through, and they did stuff like, well, the order of operations. You have your, like, the PMAD, your percentages, your, exponents, or your, what is it? Parentheses, and, exponents, and, let's see. Look, I'm trying to remember what it is. Parentheses, yeah, that's what it is. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Right? One of the bad things, like, I was taught, like, 3 different versions of this, so... Like, I know how to do it, it's just... like, you're taught different ways how to say that little cute thing. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So, like, yeah, when I was taught, the first time, we understood order of operations, and... we weren't taught division. Like, when we were taught division... well, plain and simple, when we were taught how to do things, like multiplication, the big thing was, hey, multiply. It wasn't so much a case of, well, this is how you do it. It was, here, do it. And at the same time, like, I think that's a better teaching style, honestly, because, ouch, took damage. Going through with it, in my first school, they taught us how to multiply, and then we took some after they taught us, we took tests to make sure we knew it, and then we worked on it from there. And I'm thinking anybody who's above the age of 22 probably had a very similar experience with math, like when they were learning math. They were taught how to do it, and then they were expected to be able to do it. Oh, but then when I went to my other school, 3rd grade, we weren't taught how to do math like that. 3rd grade, I was taught to memorize. You might remember this. Whenever you went through, like, school, well, how did you learn how to multiply 9? Well, 9 times 2, 1 plus 8. Had all that, like, count your knuckles and all that crummy math skills stuff. Like, if you put out the number 2, you put down that, you have 1 knuckle on one side, that's 1, and you have 8 knuckles on the other side, and that's 8, and that adds up to 9, that's how, like, no, what the hell is that shit? That's memorization. You're trying to teach something and you're telling them to memorize? Like, I understand why people think that's easier, but that's much harder in the long run, because, well, you're memorizing something, you're not learning. It'd be like, hey, I don't know what speed limit means, but I know when it says speed limit 45, don't go over 45 miles an hour. yeah, it does the same goal, but you're not teaching. You're not explaining what that means or what that does. So when I went through the first time, well, how did you multiply by 9? Well, every time you multiply by 9, you add another set of 9. So 2, well, 9 plus 9. Or 3, 9 plus 9 plus 9. But when I was in 3rd grade and they were teaching it, it was memorization. You knew it. Like, you didn't learn how to multiply. You didn't learn how to do math. You learned how to remember what answers were. And that's bad. Like, I don't think anybody who's ever had any sort of job, like, you learn how to do your job. You don't learn how to remember how to do your job. Even if your job is as simple as cleaning something, well, you don't remember how to mop a floor, do you? And I'm not talking bad about anybody who mops floors. I actually mopped floor. I used to work at a gas station. I'd mop floors, clean coffee machines for hours. Like, we had 8 coffee machines, and they all had to be, like, clean and making fresh coffee every morning by a certain time. So I'm not talking about, I've been there. But yeah, but whenever you're mopping, you don't have to remember how to mop. Be like, okay, I gotta remember that swing left, swing right, swing left. Like, no, you learn to mop. You learn to clean. You learn that, hey, when the tile looks brown instead of white, it needs to be clean. You don't remember when the tile's brown, it needs to be clean. So why would we teach our kids how to do math like that? Like, oh, they're remembering how to do it, not learning. So yeah, and then like when I was going through with the PMADs, plain and simple, basically the same thing. They taught us, like, hey, this is how you do it. Order of operations. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. And yeah, that makes sense. Anybody who knows that, like, when I was taught it, again in 2nd grade, I was taught an example that was given was, hey, I have 2 plus 4 times 6. Well, I bought 4 bags of 6 apples, and I also have 2 more apples. Well, that's how it happens. That addition, adding the 2, like, I'm not buying 2 more bags of apples, I'm just buying 2 more individual apples. So the numbers are so much different compared to like when I learned it. Like when I learned it in 3rd grade, really is I really should have, like, when they tried to reteach it in 3rd grade. Well, they didn't explain it like that. They were just like, well, here, you do this thing first, and they didn't explain it. They didn't teach us. They expected us to remember. So then later on, when we had students who were getting it wrong, they're sitting there talking down and being like, hey, you're wrong, you're not smart, here's your bad grade, now get on with your life. You're going to fail at life because you don't remember that you multiply before you add. Like, that's not how you do things. That's mean. That's cruel. And that's how we're taught. Like, that's how we're taught to treat people. Actually, I even fell victim to this. Like, I'm not like some big anti-people thing. Like, no, I actually kind of fell victim to this myself. There's a popular YouTuber called Minute Physics. I think that's actually the channel name. I could be wrong, but I think that's the channel name as well. But, like the name says, he teaches physics in a minute. No big deal. Like, that. I used to watch his videos all the time. I mean, it's a cute little thing. They're like, hey, I'm going to spend a minute. Like, some of the longer ones were like up to 5 minutes, but yeah, about a minute watching a physics thing. This is science. Most of the stuff I knew. Some of it he either like reinforced or kind of like explained, or like, I'm trying to think how to say it. Most of the stuff I knew. Some of it I only knew like the basics, and he kind of explained a little more of it. But I mean, most of it's pretty simple science. But then he went over one video that was dribble, in my opinion. He did the PMADs, and he's like, well, Americans are stupid because they teach their kids to do this. I'm just sitting there like, well, as an American, I find that offensive. Like, he called me stupid. because I'm like, he's like, well, I disagree with this and it's wrong. Well, he went through and basically proved that he had no clue what he was talking about. Basically, he was like, well, in PMADS, it basically says that, like, kids are in America are taught the PMADS, and they're taught that X and X and Y and blah blah blah. That, hey, if this means this, then it... I think what his exact statement was is that in America, kids are taught specifically to multiply before they divide, or to add before they subtract. And that's wrong because that's outside the order of operations. And I'm like, well, anybody with any form of education should be able to do some basic research on what they're saying before they make a video basically showing themselves to be an idiot on YouTube. So I'm sitting there, like, I unsubscribed from the channel, I'm sitting there pissed off, and that's basically what I'm talking about. Like, he was wrong. Okay, you can be wrong. He comes from a different country. He didn't understand. Like, I could have left a comment saying, hey, no, you're wrong, here's why. I could have been civilized. Instead, I'm like, no, he's wrong, that means he's stupid, that means nothing he's watching is worthwhile, unsubscribe. And that's how we're taught, that if somebody's wrong about something, that means they have a lack of education, they have a lack of common sense, they have a lack of worth. But, like, we shouldn't be being taught that. That's wrong. That's cruel. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who had very similar situations they've been in, where something's been said that you disagree, and instead of taking the common, like, instead of being kind, saying, no, I disagree with you, you're like, no, you're an idiot, go screw yourself. And that's how we're taught, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is we're taught to be assholes. There's no reason for it. I have a wood. No, I still have wood. Huh. Yeah. But yeah, so continuing on, like, I've done that. I've been to that point where I'm like, hey, someone's wrong, they're stupid. So I'm not, like, preaching against it. But at the same time, you can kind of see, oh my god, you're wrong about one thing that you just don't know the difference of. Doesn't make you unintelligent. Doesn't make you worthless. But that's what we're taught. That's how we're taught. That if someone's wrong about something, they're wrong about everything, and thus should be executed. Another example, actually make some stuff. Need some furnishing. Yeah, I can. But yeah, sorry. Getting a little bit sidetracked there. Yeah, so, but you can kind of see what I'm saying. Like, it's pretty straightforward from. But yeah, it's just kind of I don't know why we started teaching people that, but for some reason, a couple of about a decade and a half ago, we started educating people wrong. And because of that, people have these big anti-people motivations. Hey, I believe differently than you are, so not only are you wrong, but you're stupid. Or, hey, my ideas of my ideas of this are different than yours, so you should go kill yourself. Like, literally, you look at a YouTube comment, "You're wrong, go kill yourself." Or, "Oh my god, you're so stupid. You should definitely, like, do something stupid. Like, you should kill yourself before you breathe," or you should probably just go have a doctor cut your nuts off, because you definitely shouldn't be having kids. Because I said that something that's like, oh, well, I disagree with this thing that a lot of people agree with for personal reasons. Like, yeah, I disagree with X, or I disagree with cutting the military budget, because, one, I live in a military town, so it'd actually be really bad for my town if the military's budget started getting cut. Two, well, we cut the military budget, I'm still paying those same taxes. Like, they're not going to lower my taxes on the military budget. I'm still going to be paying the taxes into it. So why should I be paying more money and getting less defense? Like, hey, we need a big military. We need a strong military. Not because we're aggressive assholes. We need to get over that whole aggressive asshole phase of our country. But we still have that. We still need to have that whole. We don't want people to kill us phase of our country. Because we're America. We have people who want to kill us. It's an inevitability. I mean, I'm not going into like some big, "Oh my god, Muslims are evil" speech. I'm just saying, straight up, there are people who are against America. There are people who are against civilized countries. It's not just America. Britain, Canada, Russia, Japan. Like, there are people who are against those. And I'm not saying they're big enough to be a threat, but we need to have a military that can crush them. And at the same time, if there is a war, well, no offense to any of my British friends or any of my European friends. I do have a couple of friends that are in other countries, but your country goes to war with mine, I'm going to be rooting for my country to blow your country up, to put your country in a smoldering hole in the ground. It has nothing to do with my relationship with you. It just has to do with the fact that I don't want to be the smoldering hole in the ground. Nothing personal. And, yeah. But at the same time, a lot of people who are like anti-military be like, "Oh my god, you're so stupid because you want to have a good national defense." Like, okay, I believe national defense is more important than national health coverage. Doesn't make me stupid. That just means maybe I have a reason to believe national defense is more important. And what's really sad is what I'm saying, like, it might sound a little preachy, but at the same time, every civilized person who hears me is totally going to be agreeing with me. It's inevitable. If you're civilized, you agree. At the same time that you're agreeing, though, you're doing something basically to show what I'm talking about. Like, well, I disagree with him on a moral stance. I totally agree with what he's saying, but I disagree with it morally because it's wrong. Sweet, got a merchant. And that's basically what I'm getting at. We've been taught to do things. There's nothing wrong with being taught. Nothing wrong with being wrong. And that's all I'm saying, is there's nothing wrong with being wrong. But we've been taught for so long that being wrong is, like, screw the cardinal sins. You can cheat on your wife all you want. You can sleep with monkeys. Who cares? As long as you don't say something that's incorrect and has been proven scientifically to be incorrect. As long as you don't believe that the moon revolves around the Earth. Like, seriously. Did I just say the moon revolves around the Earth? I meant the sun revolves around... Like, pretty much as long as you don't believe the sun revolves around the Earth, you're smart. If you believe that the sun revolves around the Earth, then you're stupid and you need to be executed. Like, no, you're just not educated. And I'm hoping someday soon, as a civilization, we get to a point where uneducated and stupid are not swappable terms, because physically they're not. They have such different connotations. Well, if you're uneducated, you haven't been taught yet. You don't look at an uneducated person and then expect them to say something smart, not because they're stupid, but because they don't know. At the same time, you don't look at a person who has an educated, yeah, that's a word, right? But you don't look at a person who has a high-end education and expect them to be smart. Hey, I've graduated high school. That doesn't make me a scholar-winning genius. I mean, I kind of think I'm smart, but you don't have to. Hell, you might disagree with me completely and think I'm an idiot. But I think I'm smart. And that's what matters, right? As long as you think you're smart, you're usually good. I guess maybe that's all I'm getting at. But, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that people understand what I'm saying. I know it's kind of one of those weird... It's one of those ideas that you can kind of see happening. Like, you can see it. You can understand what I'm saying. But you can disagree. Maybe you honestly think that uneducated means stupid, and stupid just... something like that. I don't know. I'm not you. I can't really decide what you think. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and argue that what you think is wrong. Because I could be the one that's wrong. Who knows? 20 years down the road, maybe we find out something like... What is it? I think it's a Buddhist saying or a Hindu saying. You know everything. You just don't know that you know it yet. Maybe that's from TV. I don't know. But there's a saying that's very similar to that. Well, maybe we find that out. Maybe people aren't maybe it's not that people are uneducated. Maybe it's just that they haven't had their education awoken yet. And if we ever find that out, then, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe stupid people are stupid, and stupid people are less than people because of that. But until then, what's wrong with thinking that people are people? That a good person's a good person. It doesn't matter whether or not they're smart or not. Actually, now that I got somebody to sell this, I can actually start selling some. Quick stack everything. Alright, I'm gonna be selling stuff in a second, so I'm trying to pack things up. Pack all this useless stuff up. I don't need iron skin yet. I'll just sell it. Silver. But yeah. Anyway. I was saying, like, I'm not claiming to be some prophet. Well, I'm claiming to be smart, but I'm not claiming to be, like, extraordinary. Not bad. Bad at all. But yeah, so, like, I'm not claiming any above anyone. I'm just saying, plain and simple, forward, and, oh, yeah, that looking, like, that the way we've been educated, the way that we've been taught, and I think that we need to change that. And it's not something that's going to change overnight. I understand that. But, at the same time, don't start. Like, nothing happens overnight. But if no one takes that first day, because, well, if it's not going to happen overnight, why should I be the one to start it? But if no one takes that first day, no one is that first step, that first person who's... then it's never going to happen. Never a first day. It will never happen. So, this is me saying for the first time, I think we need to change. I might have said that, isn't it? But still, same. You get what I'm saying. Oh look, rope. I can buy it. I have actually a gold. I can buy a piggy bank. Piggy banks are very important in this game. Piggy banks are kind of like chests, except that they, like, one, they're character based, so they like last outside of the world. Table? They last outside of the world. So you can give them just about like whatever you give them, no one else can take from it. Whereas a chest is public domain; anybody can take from it. So in PvP worlds, you could just have some asshole come through and take all your stuff. Anyway. How long have I been recording this one? Let me check, see this video. It's been about an hour, so I'll see y'all in a few minutes.